Welcome to the podcast, CONEXEC. Today we have the McAlmonds with us. So rather than me introducing you, I'll let you guys introduce yourself.
My name is Jeff McAlmond. My wife, Angela McAlmond. We founded Precision Mechanical, Incorporated PMI in 91, and the rest is kind of history. It's been
91. So what happened in, walk me through that history. What happened?
I actually was transferred to Kentucky with the Adolph Coors Company. They had their own construction division. Was sent out here to do a project at a biotech facility they have in Winchester, and come out here to do the work and met Angela and.
So you're from Kentucky?
Yes.
And you're from?
Wyoming.
Wyoming.
Born and raised. Yeah.
Wyoming, really?
Yeah. And
what is there to do in Wyoming?
Hunt and fish.
Sounds a lot like Kentucky, So
Yeah, a lot of big ranches and stuff. Oil industry is about the biggest, probably one of the biggest industries back there. But
you still got any family back there?
Yes, I do. I have a brother and a sister that live in Cody, Wyoming.
Oh, okay. Wyoming, I hear, is a nice place, least populated state in
That's
the United
correct.
States.
Yeah.
So are you from Winchester?
Paris.
Paris. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So a little bit of drive, huh?
Not bad.
So
Not bad.
how'd you guys meet? If you don't mind me asking.
We met what you would call it, dance hall or bar or.
Yeah.
You don't want to mess this up, okay? You don't want to mess this up.
Actually, I met Angela the first night I was in Kentucky, so it's kind of
Really?
like her grandmother said it was an omen, good or bad, I'm not sure. But we actually got married and got transferred back to Colorado with Adolph Coors, and I told Angela, I knew we were going to be coming back out to do another project, and I told her when they ship us back out here that we'll be, and then when the job's over, that we'll be starting our own gig. So we did.
So what got you decided that you were going to do your own thing? Because most people either fear or, comfort or, I have a lot of former students that said, hey, I want to open up my own company. And then they go work for somebody for a little bit and get comfortable and then decide they don't want to go do that. So what made you?
I had worked for a large industrial contractor out west and did large projects, everything from gold mills to oil refineries to food and beverage. And I was a certified pipe welder at the time doing a lot of food grade. Mm-hmm. And when I got out here and started working here, I could see that there wasn't very few contractors that had that in their forte. Mm-hmm. So I told Angela, I said, this could be a good opportunity, and it was. And so
was it a hard decision? Like my wife was like, I trust you, go that direction, which honestly what I've heard is not very common. Was she the same way? Like, hey, I trust you, you want to go into it? How did you play, Angela, into the...
I think my dad was a big part of it also. He supported us a lot, just mentally, mm-hmm. And he had his own business, all his adult life, so we kind of just went from there and it worked out.
Mm.
Well, 90s, that's probably a good time to... Well, you were... 91, they were coming out of a recession at that
right.
time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so... and I just remember my parents' own business. It was kind of booming mid-90s or so. Is that... So, where did you guys... what was the revenue like your first year? And
we actually still have the old ledger. It was pretty small. It started out myself, and then the work picked up enough to where I had to hire another guy, and
mm-hmm.
then it just kept growing, another guy, and revenue was good. It's when you're first starting out, of course, cash flow is always tricky, especially mm-hmm. when you're paying your labor weekly and your invoices come in 60 days later, payment on invoices. So cash flow is always tough. We didn't live very high on the hog. We put as much back as we could.
Is that how you were able to? You just
we self-fund, yeah.
Yeah, really.
We didn't go out and we got no loans for anything.
That's incredible, because that's a hard thing to do.
It is.
You know?
Is. I was lucky enough that I had a customer in Winchester that we worked for full time. So it was, without having to go out and bid other work. It was a lot of T&M work. So we were right there, which allowed me to go out and find other work and to grow the business too.
So PMI focuses on, talking with Clayton, your son. He told me that you guys focus a lot on like pipe welding,
right,
that kind of thing. What exactly is like the services they provide exactly?
Well, it's when you can pretty much call it industrial construction. It might be utility piping. It might be process piping. Like I said, about 5 years ago, we opened up a structural steel division, which has grown very well under the management that's been running it. 3 years ago, we opened up a construction management division also, and it's been doing well. It's a lot of it is the customer comes up with a need, and you figure out a way to get her done.
Well, I was thinking about the skill set that. Well, first of all, welding's tough to find welders, much less pipe welders.
Right.
Was that an ongoing issue, still an issue today to find that qualification, or you grow them in house, or how?
We grow them in house, a lot of it, and you find it other ones that come along. I mean, the pipe welding industry has probably grown a lot, especially in this area. Like I said, when I first came here in '91, there was very few people that were pipe welders. A lot of them, any work that was done, it seemed like a lot of them came from Cincinnati or out of state to do the work. There wasn't a lot of local work, and so it was tough early on. A lot of it, I trained the people that came on board how to do it.
How did you learn how to weld pipe?
I started with the industrial contractor that I was talking about out west, and I actually started as a pipe welder's helper, rig welder, and worked a couple jobs with them, and then the company I worked for put me into their apprenticeship program to become a pipe fitter, and I knew that the way to really make the big bucks was to become a pipe welder, so I would come in early and stay late and weld, and just burn enough rod to where it happened. One day, boom, it happened.
So what so you participate in the business, Angela, too?
I did.
What did you handle within the business?
I kept the books up for about the first 12 to 15 years, and it was an ongoing process. I mean, when we started out, we would highlight. Computer was not really a big part of the company. Plus, we had 2 little kids, babies, and you had to take care of them first, and business came second. And there was many nights, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, we were working on invoicing, and then I'd pay the bills through the day when I could. It's incredible that how it seems like this model is very typical, because same way it happened with my company. I did the work, good at doing the work, but somebody had to be behind me and taking care of all the accounting, all the invoicing, paying people, and I always tell people that I got all the credit, and my wife was back doing all the work.
Yeah.
But it is, there's a lot of truth to that, So when did you actually get to a point where you said, did you want to bring somebody else in? Did you see the company need? What was that?
We did. I made the decision that we ran the business out of a shop on my farm that I built to run it out of, and we did that until we bought the facility in Winchester in 2004, and in about 2002 I knew that we needed to get some exposure just try to build business, because a lot of our eggs were in one basket. And I hired a guy to help me do that, and he also brought a lot of structure to the office, and but I made the decision that to get the business away from the farm, because it just, when it was there, you were always there. It was always there. So we decided to move it to Winchester and lease some buildings for a couple years, and then bought a facility, which is their current facility now in 2004.
So, what would you say was probably a significant event that kind of shaped your business model? And I recognize that you have now passed that ownership on to somebody else. But in your time there, from 91 till just what, last year?
This year.
Yeah. What can you remember? Like one significant event that really changed everything for you guys?
Yeah,
There's probably a lot.
There is a lot of. That's a tough question. Things go by so quick that it's hard to put your finger on just one event. I think that probably the biggest thing was, I don't know if you could really call it an event, but was to bring other people on that were capable of taking the business in a direction that I myself was probably not capable of doing.
Was that hard for you to? Because I mean, when you grow it, it's your baby,
right?
I mean, it's just like it's you, you know. And then was it hard for you to let go of that?
Yes and no.
She's saying yes. She's nodding yes.
Part of it was, and it was hard in a way that it is your baby, and it's kind of you're relying on them to take it in the same direction and fondle it the way take care of it the way you did. It was easy in a way that it was kind of a relief, because after doing it 7 days a week for the first 20 some years, that was part of the relief part. But it's still hard to this day. I mean, when, like you said, when you start it and it's your baby, you kind of always have a connection with it. So.
How did you go about choosing those? Was it one person or several people?
Several.
Yeah. How did you go about choosing those people?
It kind of just worked its way into it. They were the primary people that showed an interest in it, and it was either them or look outside the company, and I just felt it was best to, and it was easier from within. It was an easier transition.
Did they have any specific traits that you recognized? Hey, this guy has this. There's something about him that makes him special, and he should be, brought into this.
Right. Oh yes, very much so. They were, the owners all worked for the company for, one of them had been with me since the late 90s, been with me for quite a while, and then one was hired in 2010 and the other in 2013. So they were all associated with the business up front, and it was they were hired to grow the business, and they did it. Were successful at it.
How and I think about this because this is a struggle for every small business owner. And small business is a very relative term. So because I think we all start small, and eventually we realize we're a medium size or a large company. How did you retain those people? Because when you have good people, that's can be a very big challenge. It sounds like you have a lot of people who've been there for a long time.
Right.
What has been your philosophy or your belief, or how have you retained people?
You have to have an employee first company. You have to good benefits, good pay, and know that the company cares about them. We've had people leave, and majority of them have come back just for those reasons.
And we work in a tough industry where there's a lot of tough people, and sometimes I think if you just have a good environment that
Right.
people can work in, that's right. I heard somebody say people go to work for originally come to work for a company based on their salary, but they stay with the company based on their environment.
Right.
So do you find that to be the case too?
Very much so. Very much. You have to have an environment that the employees know that the company cares about them, is concerned about them. It always has been that, company's always done its best at providing, as you know, in a company, the type of benefits that, are attractive to people. Like you say, it's a competitive environment, and especially your younger crowd, it's the salaries that are it seems like the most attractive to them to start with.
What skills and ability do you have, or both of you guys have, that you believe have helped you guys be successful in business? Because you don't go from not existing in 1991 to, eventually transition the company to your employees and building the company. How many employees does PMI have currently?
Over 80.
Over 80. I mean, you don't go from. I mean, that's a mid-sized company.
Right.
On the verge of becoming a large company. You don't go from one place to the other without having some specific skills that were able to help you.
Well, how I started the business was because of my welding ability, welding and pipe fitting ability, and that's pretty much how it all started. And that's kind of when like you asked before, what I seen. How did I know was able to start the company, or was because there wasn't that many people that did the type of welding that we did, and it just, like I said, it started from there. I was the first employee, and it just kept growing.
Is it weird now that you transitioned out to not get up and go there every day?
Yes. Of course, it was a transition over years. Like I said, that's the one reason that I brought the people on that I did, or was looking for the people, because I knew that I was reaching a point that, especially with the business, that if it was going to take the next step, I was going to have to get somebody to do that. I mean, I have no college education. I did, pretty much hands-on everything, and
well, you have an education. It's from the School of Hard Knocks.
very much so. Very much so. Yeah, yeah. I don't need an accounting.
No. And and I have to say something interesting. And I was telling your son about this. Something interesting about you and both of you is that most people who come up through the trades and open up their own business or whatever are not successful. And the reason they're not successful is because they have the technical skills, but they don't have that business acumen necessary. How did you guys deal with that? I mean, like my wife's not a trained accountant.
No, I'm not either.
So she, we eventually hired an accountant. But similar to how you guys did business. How did you guys build that business acumen to know how to run a business and know all the details and how to get work and all that stuff?
Well, I believe that businesses are successful primarily because of doing good work and treating the customer right. I mean, if the customer knows that you've got their best interest at heart, you've probably got a good customer, or a retained customer. With business, you like you say, at the School of Hard Knocks, you learn things as you go. You figure out jobs and just you got the plus column and the negative column.
Yeah.
And hopefully you stay in the plus column. Yeah. I realized early on, especially when the company started growing, that I was going to have to get people in there that knew the accounting side and the business development side, and because I spent the time early on with that, and I think that your business development can be a lot of done by your guys in the field, just by treating your customer right. a lot of the guys that or people, not guys, individuals that were part of the business that helped grow the business were built it just on the day-to-day relationships with our customers.
And you know what's interesting about that is we're, as an industry, we're terrible at customer service. I mean, we really are. And the people who figure out what you just said, it makes their life much easier. You do good work, got a satisfied client, and they're a repeat client, especially with what we do for a living. And it just seems to be like such a simple thing. But rather than doing that, there's a lot of contractors out there that rather fight with the owner and over pennies sometimes, in the broader scheme of things. And it's great that you figured out early that, hey, this is not my skill. This is what I do well. So maybe I need to bring somebody else in to do that. And that's kind of hard,
It is.
because you have to admit your own inadequacies within business. And I think everybody has gone through that,
But when you see the success from it, then your mind's kind of put at ease. You feel
absolutely.
a lot better about it.
I always say today my job is much better than what it was in the past, because doing everything okay rather than focus on things you're really good at, So what do you think were the 5 key parts of the business that were its strengths? And I'll throw one out there for you, because I've heard from many different contractors, is your guys' competency in doing the work. I mean, I've heard that from multiple different people.
The quality of work. I've had many of the guys that work for me, say it had to be PLS, plumb level and square. You could walk in a room and where you've done work and say, we're going to have to do that over again, and it, on our own cost, because it didn't look right. But I think the quality of service, the customer service, the unwillingness to never say no. If a customer come up and needs something done, even though it wasn't in your wheelhouse, you found a way to do it.
And a lot of people are scared of that altogether, but that's how you grow. That's how you get into it.
Yeah.
Like you have grown different sectors of the company. Can't do that unless you're willing to try something new.
Right.
So, what would you say were your personal, between the two of you, your biggest successes, 5 of your biggest successes, or 5 of your biggest failures, or both?
I'll let you.
I can't say we really had 5 major failures. I mean, we just didn't. Because most people that we work for were very satisfied with how we did it and the people that did it, and it's just I don't know. We didn't.
One thing I can say, one of my biggest failures, I think. Well, I'm a believer that you learn more from failures than you do from successes.
Very much so.
And I talk about the school of hard knocks. I started as a carpenter and mason, and everybody assumes because I have a PhD that I grew up with a silver spoon in my mouth, and that's not the case at all. So I had to go figure out where the spoon was first, And so, and one of the biggest failures I have had in the past that I'm trying to correct today is that I have, and you kind of alluded to this, is that I have focused so much on being successful within the business world, it's taken a personal price, just being like how much time I spend with my wife and my kids and that type of thing. And it sounds like you've had the same kind of experience with working 7 days a week.
Yeah.
But I can't say it was a failure. It was more of a learning curve, because he kind of had to learn how to deal with the kids, because I was with them all day. But then I had to learn to deal with him, because like I've told him many times, I said, I can tell by the way you shut your truck door whether it's been a good day or a bad day.
My guys say when I come into breakfast, we have a meeting at a Tuesday morning meeting. They say when I walk in the door, they can tell by the way I walk if it's going to be a good or a bad meeting. I'm like, am I that transparent? So, but
I guess that works that way.
yeah. What about your kids? Have your kids? So you have Clayton, right?
Right.
We have a younger son, Brandon,
Okay.
and he works for PMI.
Okay. And so those are you just have two?
Yeah.
So have they always been around the business?
Oh yeah. Well, of course, Clayton was in college quite a long time, but Brandon he actually worked there since he was about 12 or 13 years old, just on and off, through the summer and stuff. And he's a pipe fitter welder for him. He's out on a project out in Colorado right now, but he likes it. He likes the work. I could say he wasn't real interested in the other side of the project. He likes being one of the boys, one of the guys.
So you have two different kids that are different. Yeah, I have 4 kids, and I can tell you they're all different. It's crazy. They grew up in the same environment. They have the same parents. Why can't they be the same? But they're all a little different.
Thank goodness.
I know. No joke. So, well, I have to say, I don't know your other son, but I can say as far as Clayton goes, I mean, and if he's listening to this, he can't listen to this. No, but he, on top of being smart, he's respectful, and I mean, he's the type of kid that I want my kid to be like. I mean, he just has it. From intelligence, ability to think through things, and down to very few people you'll find that are that kind of intelligent that actually can work with their hands. And he's one of those few people. He just really is. So
good.
So you guys did a great job with him. He takes all the credit though. So
Does he?
Yes, he does.
Doesn't surprise me a bit. Yeah, well, they both had the opportunity to work with their hands. I mean, they've been exposed to it from early on.
Well, I can imagine them having to. It seems like there's less and less of this that occurs nowadays. Like you have your kids grow up in the business. Seems like less people. I have 3 of my 4 kids work in the business, and I had to say honestly, I'm probably hard on them. Harder than them, and it's good in the long run, but in the short run, I don't know how you guys are, but me and my wife argue over. I treat my kids hard, and she says, "Well, you're not treating them fair like everybody else." I don't know if you guys ever had that argument.
Yes, very much. Well, I love it. I've told both of them, because when I was the owner of the company, I said, you've got a target on your back because you're the owner's son. So you've got to hold yourself not to a higher standard, but just you got to make sure that you're doing the best you can and kind of trying to set an example. It's sounds kind of corny.
It's kind of like the preacher's kid,
Yeah.
Everybody's watching you, everything you do.
Yeah.
And whether it's fair or not, it is the way it is, So if you were to give personal advice, now looking back at your guys', the fact that you grew the business together, and by the way, I have to commend you, because some people who grow a business say, "Oh, I only did it on my back," and the fact that I think there's something to be said about saying, "Hey, we did it married together." Because not only do you guys have the struggle of being married, you had the struggle of building a business together. And that is a significant thing. How many years you guys been married for?
28.
Wow. See, you didn't answer. She waited for her answer.
I didn't want to make a mistake. I didn't want to be wrong. Yeah.
But I mean, that's a hard thing, especially today. That's a really hard thing.
Yeah, we've actually we had the business almost as long as we've been married, because we got married in what was it, 91? And it was shortly thereafter that I started it. So
if you could do it all over again, would you guys do anything different as far as having the business, maybe having a regular 9-to-5 job?
I don't know if I would do that. I would. It was 7 days a week for a long time, and even though you're not out in the field or at the office 7 days a week, it's still in your head 7 days a week. I would have tried to live life a little more as far as the family side goes during that time, we did a lot of things. Being the business was successful, we were able to afford to do some things that we enjoyed, travel with the kids and stuff. But my biggest trouble was you always had the business in the back of your mind, which I think allowed you not to enjoy your time away as much as possible. You're always thinking about it.
I think the most fun the kids ever had on vacation, though, we'd always go to Canada and musky fish. And as soon as we crossed the border, the kids are like, "Yes, Daddy doesn't have a phone." and we were a week without a phone, and they got to enjoy his time and his attention more so than when we were at home, because like you said, when we were at home, it was all his mind was all toward the business, no matter what we did.
And that's an unfortunate thing. And I always think of the Christian model of, God commands you to give your time, your talent, and your treasure. And I think, especially as like a husband and a father, I can speak from that perspective. We think that we do, if we give treasure and our talent, that our time we don't have to give.
Right.
Or that's the sacrifice the family has to make. And I've made that mistake too. So I think anybody there is a price to be paid.
There is. It's a double-edged sword. You need to spend that time with your family. You're kind of, lots of times the business you feel the business doesn't allow you to spend that time, and if you really would just say set those two aside, you could do it.
And you did something significant as bringing in some younger talent and realizing that, hey man, I need to plan for the future, and also if I can give up some stuff. I don't know how you feel, but I think that I kind of felt for a while like if I gave up control, that I was losing a piece of the business, or I wasn't in sync. But then I realized that there's actually people out there that can do as good a job or a better job than I can.
Right.
And that's a hard. You got to kind of stuff your ego a little bit away. And if you were to give someone advice that were wanting to start up their own company and was where you were in 1991, in hindsight, what advice would you give a young man or woman that wanted to do that? And I want it from both of you guys, because you guys look at it from probably different perspectives.
I guess I would look at what you were wanting to do, the business you were wanting to develop, and try to just see how it would fit in the marketplace and the demand for it. And secondly, try to borrow as little bit of money as you possibly can to get it going, because I think that a lot of people get into things and before they know it, they're strapped and financially, and you got to have the funds to grow the business too, and surround yourself with good people. You don't want to carry all the weight on your shoulders.
I agree with him. When we started out, we started out with pennies in our pocket, and we'd get a check, and I made sure we had enough that we could pay the employees, and the rest of it went in the bank. And we didn't get a lot of extra stuff, and because you never knew when you were going to have a bill come in that is like, wow, how am I going to pay for that? And I would say that if I were going to start a business, I would start very early saving money and have a good idea of exactly what I wanted to do and what type of area I would need to be in order to make that a successful business.
Go ahead.
The demand, I think, is a big thing. I was lucky enough to see that there was an opportunity and took advantage of it, but that there has to be a demand for what you're doing or wanting to do. And I think that, I'm not going to say it was easier back then, but I think times are getting tougher as it goes on. The marketplace is more flooded with people that that kind of do the same thing, and it's not an easy deal.
It seems like cash flow. Anybody who's a small business owner, they say that's probably one of the most, and I can say personally, that's a very big thing, and being smart about it, because there's people who lend you money all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
They'll lend money with a steep interest rate or a steep origination fee or whatever, and sometimes you have to do that, but if you don't have to, then that would be. And the fact you guys were able to do that just shows your guys' discipline.
It takes a lot of discipline.
We're scared one or the other.
Fear and discipline. I think they're the same thing, So.
They just have a different face.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to kind of end this with two different things. First, I'm just going to ask you if you guys have any last comments you guys want to make, but I want to do kind of a speed round at the very end. And I want you to rate on a scale of 1 to 10 these individual topics within construction. And I'd like to have both you guys input on it. So
10
being the best
okay.
or the most important, And so 1 being the least important. So it doesn't. You could have all 10s, but it's how you see it. So the first item is scheduling.
So that would have to be a 10.
Estimating.
Quality estimating is ranks way up there, 9 or 10.
Contract administration.
I would put that at a 8 or a 9.
Design.
Very important. 10.
Contracts.
You gotta understanding them, or in today's society, probably also a 10, because you better know what it involves. Yeah, what's in the
Accounting.
That would have to be a 10. You don't have good accounting, you can lose a whole lot of money.
Yeah, we're in as David Dean said in his podcast. He said we're in one of those businesses you could be going bankrupt and not even know.
Yeah. Until it's over. Yeah, and then it's too late. Yeah.
What about selling work?
That is.
I would rate that a 10. If you don't sell your work, you're not going to have any.
Yeah.
And the last one, leadership.
That is also very important.
Yeah, I would rate it a 10.
They're all very important items.
And it's just funny because we chose those and we've added some throughout the time. Just it's good to get input from numerous different people on that. So to kind of close out, first of all, I want to thank you guys. Number one, I want to thank you for lending your son to me. So I mean,
pleasure.
Clayton.
Thanks for taking him off our hands.
Clayton is PMI may not be happy about that, but I'm very happy about it. Clayton is a very high quality person, and right. I feel myself fortunate as a business owner to have him working with me, and he's just stand up. I hate to call him a kid but he's a kid he's good to me, but he's a stand up kid, and you guys did a really good job with him.
Thank you.
You'd be very proud of him, and I want to say thank you for that one. Thank you for guys for coming in. I want to thank you guys for what you guys have done for. A lot of people don't think that the United States is built on the backs of hardworking people, and that somehow people just get rich by they just somehow inherit it or something else happens. But the truth is wealth is developed in this country from people like you,
right.
People who started from nothing and created something.
Yeah.
And you guys are living the American dream, and I wish more people would recognize that the money you guys have in your pockets today is a direct result of the sacrifices and the things you had to do all those years and the risk.
Very much so.
So, and I want to commend you for that because, like my father and like myself with my family, that's what runs America. Small business run America.
I agree.
So, but I just want to give you guys an opportunity to make any last comments you guys may have or that we haven't covered.
Thanks for the opportunity to explain them.
Anything?
No.
So, before we send off, I'll just give you one last comment. 28 years together, running business together. she must be a saint, because I tell you what, I mean, so
I've heard.
so so that's a tough one, and I have to, once again, I want to commend you for that's a feat that is probably more difficult than running a company, is keeping a family together for all those years. So congratulations, and you making the transition to your next section of your life, whatever that may be. That may be riding motorcycles every day, although today's probably not a good day to do that, but whatever that may look like,
Enjoying life.
So purpose is very, very important. So they always say, if you want to live to 100, that's the one key, is having purpose. So well, thank you for being with us at CONEXEC today. We're going to have Stephen Gray. He rescheduled. He should be coming up on the next podcast, and shortly thereafter. See you next time.